Hey everyone, it's Giselle here. And before this episode gets started, I just wanted to let you guys know that this is such a fun episode. I really recommend you guys listening to the whole thing. And if you really enjoy visuals, tune into YouTube because it is actually amazing to see the eyeball model that our guest brought onto the podcast today. And we also spoke a little bit more in depth after the podcast was over, and you do not want to miss those conversations, which you can find on YouTube. So check it out.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Sonographers in the Cities. I'm Lynn.
And I'm Giselle.
Thank you so much for tuning into this very special episode.
We are so excited because we have our first guest of 2024, and it is someone that you guys are probably not even going to even realize that we do an ultrasound. But Lynn and I are so excited to have him on. His name is Jeff. Welcome, Jeff.
Hi,
Welcome.
thank you, thank you.
We're so excited to have you on. And the reason why we're so excited is because he actually does something that many people don't even know that we do in ultrasound. Because when you think of ultrasound, you think of babies. But Jeff, what is it that you specialize in and what is it that you scan?
Eyeballs.
So exciting. So, if you guys didn't know, I guess we scan eyeballs. So, this is Jeff. Welcome, Jeff, to Sonographers in the
Hi,
Cities.
thank you for having me.
Thank you for being on here. We'll just start off really quick with, I guess, you just sharing who you are and what you do, how you found yourself scanning eyeballs.
For sure. Well, I've been doing ultrasonography for about 12 years now. And to be quite honest with you, I myself didn't know that we can do ultrasound on the eyeball. I was doing a rotation in the NICU, and I remember there was this really, really sick premature baby, about, I think, a 22-weeker, really, really premature. And so I was there shadowing, the preceptor, and suddenly I see a pediatric ophthalmologist. I didn't know she was that at the time, but she has like this headset and these like little loops or something, and she's walking to each little NICU bed, and suddenly she says, "I need to order an ultrasound on this baby's eye." And I remember thinking, "Did I hear that right? Did she say the baby's eye?" And so I got curious. I'm like, wait a minute, I just learned about brains. I didn't know that we could do eyes. And so I approached her. I was kind of shy. I'm a really shy guy. So I approached her. I was
Hmm.
like, oh, hi. You know, do you mind if I observe? I didn't know we could do ultrasounds on eyes. And she's like, yeah, absolutely. And so before I go any further, ophthalmic ultrasound is typically done outpatient. And I say in real life because I work in a bit large academic center, but like in private practice, if an ophthalmologist is lucky enough to have an ultrasound unit, they usually do it themselves. They'll be really quick, and we'll kind of go into the pathologies that we look at a little bit later. But because I'm in an academic center, we're looking for very specific things. And so she's doing this ultrasound on this little baby, and I'm watching, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm looking at, to be honest with you. It just looks like a black circle on there. And so she starts explaining, and unfortunately, the baby had a really bad retinal detachment that sometimes can come with retinopathy of prematurity. And I was mind blown. I was like, what? This is crazy. And so I asked her, how can I be a sonographer in ophthalmology? And that's when she was like, well, there's really no such thing, to be honest with you. Um, we kind of just do our own ultrasounds, but if you're really interested, I can talk to the medical director and see what we can do. I know, right? I was like, little old me? I was like, okay. And so once I graduated, I was kind of like really hoping. I was like, okay, come on, I'm ready for this. I'm ready. I'm ready to learn. And a couple months later, she did reach out and she was like, hey, I talked to our medical director and we would love to have you. She goes, there's just one thing. We are going to have to train you like hardcore in ophthalmology because, I mean, come on, let's be real. Nobody really knows about the eyes, right? We just know that they're there and we used to see. And beyond that, it's like one of those medical specialties that it's like, we don't know what happens beyond the eyelids.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited to tell you all about the diseases that I look at and all the stuff that I do with ultrasound.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's really cool. I just
That's
keep thinking,
awesome.
yeah, I just keep thinking about how you said you were shy and then
I am such a shy person.
but like, a lot of people ask me, "Oh, can I go into this field if I'm like an introvert?" And I always tell them yes, but that also goes to show that you just asked someone something and then it just brought you somewhere just because you asked a question, and that's really
You know,
cool.
I'm really glad you said that because I am a very introverted person. And one of the things that I love about ultrasonography or being a sonographer in general is that this field is very autonomous. You know, well, at least where I'm at. So I'm one of two in the state of Texas that does comprehensive ophthalmic ultrasound. I mean, Texas is a really big state,
Mhm.
and I'm in North Texas. And so I have my own little office, my own little instruments, and honestly, sometimes I'm in there by myself in the dark. I know it sounds kind of creepy, but I'm in there in the dark, with patients. Every now and then I'll get a medical student rotating in or an ophthalmology resident or some of the attendings that have questions. But for the most part, I'm left alone. And for any of you out there who are big introverts, this job is totally for you.
That sounds like a dream for me.
Me too. And that's the one thing I love about ultrasound though. It's just
Mm.
me and the patient.
Right,
And then
Yes.
right.
and then, sometimes you have to, like, obviously talk to the doctors or the nurses, but I don't like those parts really. I just like doing my job and being with the patient. So I think it's perfect for somebody who just wants to have a lot of one-on-one,
Right,
in the
absolutely.
field.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, for sure, for sure.
Did you go to school in Texas?
I did. So,
Oh.
there are I don't know how much you know about cancer centers, but Houston has one of the biggest cancer centers in the world, MD Anderson Cancer Center, and they do have what's called a School of Health Professions, where they do have a program for ultrasonography, and like the other like what is it, radiology technicians and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And so that's where I did my training, a little bachelor's degree in diagnostic medical sonography.
So what
Awesome.
made you decide to go into ultrasound?
That's a really good question because when I got out of high school, I kid you not, I wanted to be a chef.
Oh.
I
Ooh.
wanted to cook and eat. But I then thought about it. I was like, do I really want to cook for the rest of my life? Like go to work, cook, and then come home and cook again? I
Mm.
don't think so. And so I had to like shift gears here. And so I honestly didn't know what to do. And I'll be quite honest with you, nobody wants to be poor, right? And so I remember I was like, I literally Googled jobs that pay well.
There you
And
go.
ultrasound was one of them. And I was like, okay, no blood, because I'm not really one with blood. So, surgery tech was out of the question. And then
Yeah.
and then I looked at like other careers like nursing and even thought about med school. I'm like, do I really want to be in school for that long? I don't think so. And so I was like, let me try ultrasound. I always liked physics and sound. No, I'm kidding. No, nobody
I
believes
was
me. But
gonna say, you like physics?
but in sound, and so I just gave it a shot. So I reached out to the admissions people, and I was like, hey, I think this is what I want to do. And so they were really nice. They had an open house. And they're like, yeah, come and we'll talk more about it. And I went and I was like, wow, yeah, this is it. This is for me. I'm ready. And that's kind of how it just started.
I love that actually because if you guys listen to our last episode, Lynn and I talked about the pay in ultrasound. And that's what the first thing you did. You looked at the pay, like high paying jobs or good paying
Right,
jobs.
right,
I mean, that is one of the big things that people obviously look into, right? So
right,
we're
right.
very
No one wants
lucky.
to talk about it, but
Yeah.
it's a thing, it's a thing.
Yeah. But no, that makes sense. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. So we appreciate you sharing. So being that you went from going to that program and getting into eyeballs, I mean, did you not really like the general part of it? Did you learn vascular and all that stuff? and then
Right.
you were
So,
like, just, "Ooh, I like the eyeballs more," and then you just kinda went towards the eyeballs because you
right,
had the opportunity?
I totally went rogue. No, so it is a really comprehensive program. Of course, the bulk of your training at MD Anderson is high risk obstetrics and neurosonology, which, to my understanding, neurosonology is kind of a thing of the past, right? Now, for those who want to do neurosonology, have to go through, I think, pediatrics, right? Or
Mhm.
something. Am I something like that,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
And so I think that's where I kind of was more interested in the brain because I was like, oh, nobody really does a lot of neuro stuff anymore. Well, at the time, when I was doing the training, and for some reason, it's going to sound really morbid, but I just love brain tumors. They're so cool. And but of course, I was doing this rotation in the NICU, and I was like, eyeballs. Wait a minute. I mean, that's kind of brain, right? They're attached to the brain.
Yeah.
And from there, I kind of just went that way, and I just took a different path. And I was like, all right, goodbye obstetrics, goodbye cardiac, goodbye brain, goodbye vascular. Although I will admit, I do a lot of vascular still.
Okay.
I do use Doppler in my practice, and so that component I still kept with me.
Okay. So you do a lot of dedicated ultrasounds, but what else
Mhm.
is it that you do in your career since it seems like you're in a very comprehensive area and you're actually one of two people that does this. So
Right,
what is
right.
your title? And I see that there's letters after your name that I don't know what they mean. So if you want to explain what they are, that'd be cool too.
For sure, for sure. I made up these letters. No, I'm kidding. No, so being in a very small niche, those of us who do practice comprehensive ophthalmic ultrasound tend to have a larger role than just a standard, clinical ultrasound tech or ultrasound sonographer kind of position. And so my day varies greatly from day to day, even sometimes on weekends. Primarily, my role is being a clinical sonographer. So I do a lot of outpatient stuff, but also I am involved in multiple clinical trials. And with that, comes the IRB, a lot of all these wonderful protocols that I have to read through and make sure that I am, you know, up to par with them. Otherwise, game over. And then lastly, I am a clinical instructor. So I teach a lot of residents and fellows and even med students who are interested in ophthalmology. They rotate through ultrasound because I'm going to be quite frank with you. A lot of people think that pathologists are like the masters of anatomy, but let's be real. We all know who are the real masters of anatomy, right? I mean, who else knows all the different planes and structures and physiology than us?
Mhm.
And so a lot of med students, they will go with me and I'll teach them basic anatomy. Of course, sonographic anatomy, but nonetheless, anatomy of the eye.
Wow, that's so cool.
So cool. So can you talk more about the letters behind your name?
Oh,
Because
right.
because
Right, I completely forgot
we're
about that.
we're
They're
we're most
imaginary.
interested in these letters that we don't recognize.
Well, we're not able to
Right.
get them. I mean,
Yeah.
unless I don't know, I feel like I'd have to ask somebody in my hospital now.
Right. So you guys will normally go through the ARDMS to get your
Mhm.
registry, your credentials, but we have a different credentialing group in ophthalmology called it's JCOPL for short. It's the Joint Commission of Allied Health Professionals in Ophthalmology, and under them there are multiple little specialty, I guess, allied health careers that you can go through. Sonography being one of them. And so my main, I don't know if you can kind of see here, but the main credentials is CDOS, which stands for Certified Diagnostic Ophthalmic Sonographer. I also have an ROUB credential, which stands for Registered Ophthalmic Ultrasound Biometrist.
Ooh.
So once you have those credentials, you're officially a comprehensive sonographer in ophthalmology.
Wow.
And I kid you
Wow.
not, these certifying exams are not a walk in the park. I thought like, physics, yeah, anatomy, I got it. But man, when I got there, especially for the last one, for the RUB, I mean, it's a lot of physics, but it's a lot of like ocular physics, like light and calculations and biometrics of the eye. It's not just like a little, what's a cataract and how do you scan it or, stuff like that. It's
Wow.
tough. It's tough.
Wow.
That's impressive. That's awesome. I wonder how many
Thank
people
you.
have that, have those
I think
registries, do you
so.
know?
In the US, it's about 36. I know.
Wow.
Right, right, right.
And you're one of them. That's
And
amazing.
I'm one of the few, right. But I think the reason why there's so many or so little of us is because back in the day, and I mean like in the 80s, ophthalmic, it used to be called ophthalmic ecography. Ophthalmic ultrasound was a fellowship that an ophthalmologist could do. So once they became full-blown board-certified ophthalmologists, if they wanted to pursue a subspecialty, ultrasound was one of them. And so for a very long time, it was like that up until, Medicare got in the way and they were like, you know what, we're no longer going to reimburse you for doing your own
Oh.
ultrasound exams, right? And
Mm.
so after that, ophthalmologists didn't find it very lucrative. And so they were like, no, we have to find these specialists or technical personnel to be able to perform these scans for us because we're not going to do it anymore. And
Mm.
so then that's where we came in.
Huh. I actually was curious, do you think that there is a chance for more people to go into this field or is it kind of like hard to find, especially like in different states, for example?
Right. So I think honestly it's both a yes and a no. Yes, it's easy, but then no. Yes, because there's ophthalmologists all over the country. But no, because unfortunately there's no formal training in ophthalmology. So once I got hired as on staff with the Department of Ophthalmology in Houston, I'm in Dallas now, by the way. They sent me to Salt Lake City, Utah, to the University of Utah to train under a wonderful ophthalmologist who focuses only on ultrasound, Dr. Harry. And so I spent a year with him learning the ins and outs of orbital anatomy, intraocular anatomy, and all the pathology that goes with it. So I was fortunate enough to get this little, I want to call it a mini fellowship, paid for by the department. So when I came back, you know, fully understanding of what the eye is about and all that good stuff. They said, um, here's a document. You belong to us now for 5 years. And so I was like,
Ah.
well, oh well, here I go, kind of thing. Um, but no, I think if anybody is interested, I would say a big hospital setting is probably best bet, or a med school with a comprehensive department of ophthalmology, because they're the ones who are really going to be needing ophthalmic ultrasound the most.
Right. Oh, okay. That's cool. And that's really good to know.
For sure.
So now I'm even more curious.
Yeah,
So you attended, the regular ultrasound program, right?
right,
And
right,
then you said you were sent to Utah to
right.
train. Can you walk us through your path of how so you finished your program and then did
Mhm.
you go to Utah right away or like how did that
So that's a
come
really good
about?
question. That's a good question because this is really how, if anybody really is interested in getting into the field of ophthalmic ultrasound, this is probably the best way to do it because this is kind of how I went through it. So, do any of you wear glasses or contact lenses by any chance?
I'm wearing contacts right now.
I
I
used to,
usually
So,
I
wear
got
glasses.
LASIK.
I usually
oh,
wear
or she
glasses.
got LASIK.
She's
Yeah.
Wow.
cool. Oh my gosh.
I was gonna get LASIK, but then I said nope. Just I don't want to do it. Because no, because once you're in ophthalmology and
Oh.
you see it, it's like you already know too much, and
Mm.
no thanks.
Yeah.
Oh, those of you who want to get LASIK out
Oh.
there, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. It's just not for me. It's just not for me. No, but
Uh-oh.
no, I know. I'm just kidding. Not
My uncle,
this is
my
not a
uncle
paid
got
advertisement,
my uncle got LASIK, so I mean, I know people who got it. My coworker
and
did
they're
too.
fine, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, they're all
they're.
fine.
So I have really bad dry eye. So if I got LASIK, I mean, I would be putting eye drops for the rest of my life until I die. And to be honest with you, it's such an
Wait,
inconvenience
wait,
sometimes.
hold on.
So,
So you're saying I should be putting eye drops every day?
well, only if you feel like your eyes are dry.
Are they
Do
dry?
you eyes water a lot? To be honest with you, a lot of people think that when eyes are watery too much, they're like, oh, that's too many tears. But it's really a response from dry eye. Your eyes are so dry that they're trying to overproduce tears and
Oh
Oh,
no,
look,
no,
the
no, my
eye
eyes are not
expert.
like that. Yeah. Oh no, my eyes are not like that. But I just remembered because after my LASIK surgery, the doctor's like, "Oh, you should use eye drops."
I mean,
Uh-huh.
of course they're going to say that because
Yeah.
when you go to the dentist and
Mhm.
they're like, okay, make sure, not saying that I don't floss, but people say, oh, they'll promote like, make sure you floss every day and all
Mm.
this good stuff. The same thing with eye doctors, but like make sure you're keeping your eyes well rested and,
Mm.
put in your eye drops if you ever feel like they're getting dry or itchy, kind of like
Got
that,
it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm not gonna go blind. Got it.
Hopefully not. Oh, I'm just kidding. No, you won't go blind. You won't go blind. But back to the
Oh yeah, the
how I got
question.
there.
Yes.
Oh
Back to
yeah,
how I got
this is
there.
what happens all the time. It's normal.
So once I finished the program, I graduated, and I was really really hoping that the pediatric ophthalmologist would call me back because I really wanted to learn, honestly. And I still applied for other jobs, and actually, I was getting ready to take the registry, but it just so happened that she called me right before I was like, okay, let me go, let me just go do it. And so I didn't do it. But they said, okay, well, because you need to know about the eye, we can't just pay you to do this job and learn at the same time. So they hired me to be a technician. So this is why I asked you if any of you wear like glasses or contacts, because I don't know, whenever you go to the doctor's office, there's like always like a technician who checks your vision or
Mm.
the eye pressure, that kind of stuff. And so that's what I did for about 3 months. Now, the path that I took, of course, it's a little bit different from most people. I mostly started in pediatric ophthalmology, which is extremely rare because most people will do like general ophthalmology
Mm.
with adults, But
Mhm.
I started in tiny little babies and kids who sometimes don't want to talk to you, but you still have to make them talk. And it was challenging, but it was fascinating. I got to learn so much about ocular genetics, genetics in general. And I think, as we all know, we have to know about embryology and how organs form. Well, specifically for me, in my case, because just today I got a call from the Children's Hospital. They're like, hey, Jeff, we have a baby with really opacified corneas, which means that the cornea is completely white out, or they can't see into the eye. Here, actually, I have my own little eye model here. I know
Ooh, love it.
all all ophthalmology people have these carrying around. I have this in my backpack. No, I'm kidding. So this is the cornea here, and so on this poor little baby, the cornea was completely hazy or white. And so when this is white or hazy, they can't look inside the eyeball. This is like how people say that the eyes are like the window to the soul. Well, this is the curtain. And so if the
Ah.
curtains are
Oh,
closed or something's blocking the view inside, then how do we look inside the eye?
Yeah.
you
With
can't.
How?
ultrasound.
With
Oh,
With
ultrasound.
hello, me.
Oh, that's your expertise.
Right.
Wow.
And so they're
so
like, well, we can't
cool.
see inside the eye. We want to make sure that there's nothing going on back there, like a tumor or well, I'll tell you about this other fascinating case. But anyway, so I get to the NICU and I scan this poor little baby's eye, and thank goodness everything looked fine. So the baby was born with something called a congenital cataract,
Mm.
which means this baby, unfortunately, its little body couldn't wait till it got old and grow cataracts. He was born with a cataract,
Wow.
and although it's rare, it does happen.
Whoa. And you saw that with your scan. That's
Right, right, right. So one of the biggest things that we look for in babies with uh, no view into the eye, we automatically think the worst of the worst, which
mm.
is retinoblastoma, a devastating malignant tumor in a baby or an infant. So that's the first thing I look for when I do my ultrasound evaluation. So once I notice that the retina, which is this wonderful part of the eye here, it's nice and flat, there's no calcifications or elevations or any kind of irregularities, then I move on to the more front of the eye, if you will. And sometimes there's a stalk that, while a baby or a fetus is being born, there's an artery that feeds up towards the cornea, the lens. I took it off here because it kept falling out. But the lens usually is, we're born with one, and it kind of just sits in there. And so if an artery is feeding to it, it'll kind of get stuck as a baby grows, and it doesn't detach like it's supposed to. Anyway, it's a whole thing. And
Wow.
that's the next thing I look for. And once I can rule that out, then I'm like, okay, well, it's a cataract. And so luckily that's an easy fix for the most part. But anyway,
Wow.
so I was like, anyway, back to me. No, I'm kidding. So I started up being a technician where I kind of like check the baby's vitals, as we call it, their vision, pressure inside the eye, that kind of stuff. And once I was comfortable with ocular anatomy, that's when they sent me to Utah, and they were like, okay, time for you to learn the big stuff. And I came
Wow.
back, and then I was me, the real me.
And then you came back and then you took the exams.
Right. Then I took the ophthalmology exams, and that's how, I'm able to prove that I know what I'm talking about, or that I know what I'm doing.
You know what you're doing. I love that so much. I actually asked him before we got on here. I said, why doesn't he do videos on eyeballs? I could literally watch you talk about your protocols all day.
Stop it. No, I don't know. I mean, I'm too shy.
I don't
I'm
know
just
if
too
you
shy.
noticed, but just now and I were just watching like this.
Oh, I know. Yeah, if you guys are watching the YouTube video, like,
Yeah, where we're so
ah.
mesmerized. We're like, oh,
Well,
whoa.
he is an instructor, so
Right.
you're very good at what you do. I can already tell. And
Oh, thank you.
you just gave a glimpse into what a sonographer does on the daily to a lot of the students here, because a lot of times patients just think we're just taking images or photos,
Right. Right.
and really we're thinking a lot in our head,
Goodness.
like
If
always thinking.
if you were to be in my brain as I'm scanning, you'd be like, shut up.
Wow, that's so cool. Well, we appreciate you showing us all of that, and I love that you have a little eyeball diagram or thing with you. Like
The
that's
little
so
I
model,
cool.
love it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I need to get some models of, I
Well,
don't
it's
know.
good. I
What
think,
models would you
I
get?
don't know. That'd be
right.
cool though.
Well, I mean, they sell them, right? Somewhere.
Yeah, they do some probably
Amazon.
Amazon.
Amazon has
Yeah, it's
everything,
Amazon.
like
right?
Amazon probably does. But that's so cool. We really do appreciate everything that you do. And I'm just so intrigued by your story. I feel like we could talk for a very long time. So we probably have to get you on again. Right.
For sure, for sure. I would love. I love talking about what I do because a lot of people, again, they don't know what I do. Um,
Yeah.
I use a variety of different ultrasound probes, believe it or not, to look at different types of pathology. And so, whenever you guys have time, I would maybe the next time I can show you while I'm in the office, so I can show you the different probes and how I use them and
Oh
all that
my
good stuff.
gosh.
Because yeah, I do have different protocols for different types of pathologies, for babies of different ages, for adults, everything.
We would absolutely love that. Oh my gosh, this is so cool. And this is also something that a lot of students probably have no idea that we do. I mean, I
Mhm.
knew a little bit that we could scan the eye. I've seen some people do TCDs and then they
Hmm.
have the probe on the eye.
Right, right.
We also are in a pediatric hospital, and I have had my supervisor do one, but none of us are trained to do them, of course. So we don't really do them, but I've seen him do one. And it just
Hmm.
looks like a big black circle.
Right. That's what I look at day in and day out, black circles.
That's so cool. We appreciate you so much for coming on. Do you have any advice for students?
Run. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. No, I think what we do is pretty amazing, and maybe I'm being a little biased. I think sonographers are truly the unsung heroes of it all. Who else can look at abscess or tumors and say this is what it is? In my particular field, I do both the imaging and interpreting. So whatever I tell the physician, they that's what they take and run with. So
Yeah.
you have to be very sure what we're doing here. Um, but honestly, I think that if anyone is thinking about ultrasound in general, not specifically ocular or obstetric or cardiac or vascular, the more well-known ones, I think that people should really go for it because I mean it's a popular field, it pays well, and honestly, I think we're some of no offense to all the other healthcare professionals, but we're pretty smart. We're pretty smart, and
Hey.
I think that we don't get enough recognition,
Yeah.
and we should.
I also agree with that too.
I totally
Um,
agree.
And that's why we're here on Sonographers in the Cities to spread
Yeah.
ultrasound awareness and to
Sure.
just, bring it to regular everyday people who have no idea what ultrasound is. So thank you for being a part of that. And we hope to have you on again in the future.
Oh, thank you. You guys are a pleasure as always.
Yes,
Thank you
thank you
so
so
much.
much.
And
You're very welcome.
we'll talk to you guys soon, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.
Thank you. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you guys so much for tuning into today's episode. If you loved hearing from Jeff, head on over to youtube.com/LOLGeselle for more insight on his journey, field, and juicy stories that you can only hear exclusively on YouTube. See you guys on the next episode.